Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I am Ryan. I was married to Josephine for 5 years. It wasn't a fairy tale, but I believed in us. We met at a community fundraiser, one of those bake sale, raffle ticket kind of afternoons where the sun feels warmer than usual and strangers suddenly feel like neighbors. She was volunteering, handing out lemonade and laughing like the world couldn't touch her. That laugh, it's what pulled me in. Her charm. The way she balanced being a mother to a teenage daughter and still made time to care for others. I admired that. I think that's what blinded me to the red flags. When we married, I didn't just take on a wife. I took on her daughter, Adeline. She was 13, guarded, cold, as if every kind word might cost her something. I didn't push. I drove her to school, cheered from the bleachers at her volleyball games, sat with her through long nights of math homework. I remember the first time she called me Dad. I was helping her graph parabolas. She looked up, her face serious, and said, "Thanks, Dad." I played it cool, but inside, something cracked open, warm, proud. I wore that word like armor. I thought we were a family. But love, real love, can't compete with greed. Not when it's dressed like opportunity. Josephine worked as an executive assistant at a tech startup. Her boss, Waylon, was everything I wasn't. Smooth, wealthy, flashy. I'm just a middle school teacher. I wasn't broke, but I didn't drive a Tesla or take weekend trips to Miami. I offered stability, not excitement. And at first, I thought that was enough. Things started changing slowly. Josephine began dressing differently, sleek, expensive fabrics I'd never seen on our credit card bills. She came home late, claimed she was helping Waylon prep for late-stage investment meetings. The way she said his name, Waylon, it started to grind at me. She stopped laughing at my jokes. She stopped texting me during the day. Our house got quieter, colder. And Adeline, she changed too. The girl who once asked for my help before school started brushing past me like I wasn't there. Her smiles faded. Her thanks disappeared. She started locking her door again. Then, that Friday night, I'll never forget it. Josephine sat me down at the kitchen table. No tears, no remorse. Just this cool, detached look on her face like she was confirming a lunch order. "I'm moving out," she said. I blinked. "What?" "I'm with Waylon now," she said flatly. I stared at her. The words didn't make sense. I remember my coffee mug slipping from my hand. It shattered on the tile floor. The sound, it echoed like thunder in my ears. For a second, I thought maybe the house was collapsing. "You're what?" I managed. She didn't blink. "It's for the best. Waylon can give me and Adeline a better life." Behind her, Adeline appeared. Arms crossed, face blank. She didn't look like the girl I helped raise. Didn't even flinch. "You've done okay," she said, voice even, but Waylon's just on another level. Mom deserves more. We both do. I looked from one to the other, my chest tightening. Everything I had poured into this family, every damn sacrifice, dismissed like a forgotten lunchbox. I stood slowly, pushing the chair back. "Then go," I said, my voice low. "Pack what you need. And go." They looked at each other, then back at me. "I'll give you an hour," I added. "Don't be here when I get back." I didn't wait for a reply. I grabbed my keys and walked out, the shattered mug still on the floor behind me. I got a voice message from Adeline 2 days later. "Hey Dad, don't take it personally. My mom deserves more than a broke teacher. Waylon's not just richer. He's smarter, hotter, and actually going somewhere. We're upgrading. Have a nice day." I couldn't breathe in those walls anymore. The house, once filled with laughter and homework papers and the smell of burnt toast on weekends, had become a tomb. A reminder of everything I'd lost. So I let Josephine take the furniture. The car was mine, title in my name. There wasn't much to fight over anyway. We earned about the same. No split of assets. No drawn-out court battles. Just a few months of court-ordered support for the ex-wife and her daughter that was never mine. She didn't ask for alimony. Why would she? Waylon was footing the bill now. I signed the divorce papers without contest. Just my name on a dotted line. The end of 12 years boiled down to ink and silence. After it was done, I sold the house. Couldn't stay there. Too many ghosts. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment near the school where I taught. The kind of place where the paint peeled in corners and the carpet had the faint smell of old coffee and resignation. It smelled like broken dreams. But sometimes, loss is the greatest teacher. Over the next few years, I rebuilt. Slowly, brick by quiet brick. I took on extra classes, weekend tutoring, summer school, anything. I saved every cent. I stopped thinking about Josephine. About Adeline. I needed to. Therapy helped. So did long runs. And writing in a cheap notebook at 2 a.m. when the silence got too loud. I eventually got promoted, vice principal. Not glamorous, but it meant something. It meant I was worth something again. Then, by a stroke of luck, or maybe stubborn persistence, my brother and I turned a summer side project, an education software app we'd tinkered with for fun, into a real business. And 3 years after that, we sold it. 7 figures. Still feels unreal when I say it. By then, I had a real house again. Not just 4 walls, but a home. A place with a garden out back, a home office with warm light, and rooms that echoed only when I wanted them to. It felt like mine. I started dating again. Carefully. Cautiously. A coffee here, a dinner there. I didn't rush. Didn't need to. And then last fall, the past came knocking. It started small. A friend request. Josephine. My chest tightened when I saw the name. Then came the message. Hey, I know it's been a while. I'd love to talk. Can we meet for coffee? I didn't respond. 3 days later, I got an email. Then a voicemail. I deleted them all. Then Adeline messaged me. She used to call me Dad. Now her name blinked on my screen like a pulse from a different life. I was young and stupid. I miss having a real dad. I stared at that message for a long time. But I didn't reply. And then Josephine showed up at my school. I was walking toward the front office after lunch duty when I saw her, standing by the reception desk like she had every right to be there. Like the past hadn't burned down everything between us. Her clothes were plain. No designer bag, no expensive shoes. Her hair was pulled back tight, and her face, God, her face looked tired, worn, lined in ways that hadn't been there before. Ryan, she said quietly when she saw me. I stopped a few feet away. I didn't say anything. She exhaled, eyes glossy. Waylon left. I just stood there, silent. He's bankrupt, she said. He drained everything. Walked out. Turns out, he was hiding debts. Big ones. We lost the condo. Adeline's taking a break from college. Her voice cracked a little then. She looked down, then back up at me. We're staying with my sister now. I stood there, arms folded, heart steady. She looked worn down, like life had chipped away at her carefully curated edges. She continued, I made a mistake. We both did. A part of me thought, God, I thought he was the answer. But he just used them. I should have never walked away from you. She must have seen it in my face, that flicker of softness. She stepped closer, her voice low, trembling. I thought he was everything we needed, she whispered. But he wasn't. He ruined everything. I should have never walked away from you. I let the silence stretch. Let it sting. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. I made no mistake. I don't regret anything other than trusting you and your daughter. I gave you everything I had, I said. My trust. My heart. I was there for your daughter like she was mine. You two threw me out like last year's phone. I know, she whispered, barely audible. But maybe we could start again. Even just as friends. Please. Her eyes pleaded. Maybe there was sincerity in them. Maybe there wasn't. But it didn't matter anymore. I've moved on, Josephine, I said. You walked away for something shinier. And now that the shine's gone, you're looking for shelter. I'm not, she started. But I was already turning, already walking away. That night, Adeline messaged me again. I thought money meant everything. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. Some people only see your worth after they've already sold you out. Let them. But that doesn't mean you need to open the door when they come knocking. Some stories don't need second chapters. Sometimes walking away isn't just the best choice, it's the final one. 2 weeks after Josephine showed up at my school, things went quiet again. Or so I thought. Then came the letter. Pale blue envelope. Handwriting I hadn't seen in years. Neat, careful loops. It was from Adeline. Inside, for pages, handwritten. A strange mix of confession and manipulation. I was a stupid kid. I thought Waylon's money made him a better man. But he hurt Mom. He hit her. And when the money ran dry, he left us with nothing. You were the only father I ever had. And I treated you like garbage. But maybe you can still be there for us. You always were the fixer. The provider. Please help us. I read it once. Then again. It sounded sincere. Maybe. But it was soaked in desperation. They didn't want me. They wanted security. Just like that, the past came clawing back again. I shredded the letter. But Josephine wasn't done. It was a rainy Friday night when I heard the knock. Slow, hesitant. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door, and there she was, Josephine. Drenched from head to toe, hair plastered to her cheeks, mascara running down her face in uneven streaks. She looked like a ghost from a life I'd buried. In one hand, she clutched a bottle of wine like it was some kind of offering. Please, she said, voice shaking. Just 5 minutes. I don't know where else to go. I should have closed the door. I should have turned around and walked away. But I didn't. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I wanted to see for myself just how far she'd fallen. I stepped aside, and she walked in. She sat on the edge of the couch, hunched, fingers trembling around the neck of the bottle she never opened. I lied to you, she said quietly. About everything. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, waiting. Waylon and we didn't just fall in love after we split. I started sleeping with him before we separated. There it was. The part one always suspected but never wanted confirmed. I told Adeline because I needed her on my side. I needed her to believe I was making the right decision. I didn't want to be the bad guy, so I painted you as dull, predictable, and I justified it by convincing myself that you'd be fine without us. I didn't flinch. I just listened. I'd spent years bracing for this storm. But the truth, she whispered, eyes fixed on the floor, he never loved me. I was convenient. When his company tanked, he left me for an investor's daughter. Just like that. She laughed bitterly, wiping her cheeks. And now Adeline. She won't even look me in the eye. She blames me for everything. I sighed, not out of sympathy, but exhaustion. And why are you here, Josephine? She looked up. Her eyes were swollen, glassy. I want a second chance. I let out a cold chuckle. You already had it. The day I walked into your life and raised your daughter like my own. That was your second chance. And you torched it. I made a mistake, she said quickly, voice rising, desperate. No. I replied, my voice steady, firm. You made a choice. You didn't just cheat. You orchestrated my exit. You turned your daughter against me so you could chase a fantasy. And now that it's burned down, you want to crawl back through the ashes. She broke. Her body folded inward, hands over her face as she sobbed. And then, she said it. I'm pregnant, she whispered. Silence. I stared at her. Congratulations. Right before Waylon left, she said through her hands. We weren't being careful. I didn't even know until a month ago. He doesn't know. He's blocked me. I've got no job, no insurance, and I'm scared. That's the truth. For a moment, the room tilted, like I was watching it all through glass. I felt sorry for her. How could I not? But not enough. Not nearly enough to repeat the cycle. I'm not your rescue plan, I said, my voice like steel. I was your lifeline once. You cut the rope. This time, you drown alone. I walked over and opened the door. She didn't argue. She stood slowly, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped, and walked out into the rain without a word. I thought that was the end of it. After Josephine walked into the rain that night, I figured the chapter was closed. Nailed shut. But the past has a funny way of clawing its way back, just when you finally started breathing easy again. Adeline showed up at my office. 19 now. Taller. Sharper edges. Same spark in her eyes, though, the one she always had when she wanted something. She didn't knock. She just walked in like she owned the place. I want to move in with you, she said, bold, blunt. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. Is that so? Mom's a mess, she said, crossing her arms. I can't be around her. You were the only real parent I ever had. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Do you remember what you said to me? I asked, keeping my voice even. She blinked. What? That night in the kitchen, when you stood behind your mother and told me, Waylon's just on another level. Mom deserves more. We both do. I paused, watching her squirm. Ring any bells? She looked away, jaw tight. I was a kid. I shook my head. You were old enough to choose. You weren't just siding with your mother, Adeline. You spat in my face. You didn't hesitate. You helped shove the knife in and twist it. So what? She snapped, voice rising. People screw up. You're really going to hold that over my head forever. I stood slowly from my desk, walked around it until I was right in front of her. Yes, I will, I said, voice low. And I will forever remember that you are a spoiled brat, and you are actually getting exactly what you deserve. She frowned. What? I also realized that I was never your father, I said. I just played the role while it was convenient. While it suited you. She blinked like I'd slapped her. Her mouth parted, but no words came. You know what's funny? I said. I gave you everything. I showed up. Every game. Every parent-teacher night. I sat through your tantrums, your teenage drama. I gave you a home. And when it mattered, when I needed you to stand by me, you didn't just walk away, you kicked me on your way out. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't stop. You called me dad when it was easy, when it meant rides to practice and help with algebra. But the second some guy with a flashy car walked in, you threw me out like a broken toy. She swallowed hard. I didn't know. Save it. I cut her off. You knew exactly what you were doing. You chose what you thought was better, richer, shinier. And now that it's all gone, you come crawling back. Her voice cracked. I have nowhere else. I'm not a shelter, I said, cold and final. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not the real parent you can summon when the house of cards falls. She opened her mouth again, but I raised a hand. You made your bed, Adeline. I stepped back, pointed at the door. Lie in it. She stood there for a moment, chest shaking, eyes spilling. Then she turned and stormed out of my office, tears streaking down her cheeks, the door slamming behind her. That night, I poured myself a drink, bourbon, neat, and stood by the window of my living room, looking out over the city skyline. The lights shimmered against the glass like quiet promises. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not because justice had been served, not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped carrying other people's consequences. Some betrayals cut so deep you never fully recover. But some lessons, they make you sharper, stronger, wiser. I gave everything I had to people who measured love in dollars, who confused devotion with status. And when the money vanished, suddenly I was visible again. Suddenly, I mattered. Too bad I'd already learned to forget them. 3 months passed. Quiet ones. I thought the storm had finally settled. Then came the envelope. Thick, yellow, legal notice stamped across the front in bold black ink. My stomach sank, but I opened it without ceremony. I'd faced worse. Inside was a petition, family court. Josephine was suing me. The same woman who'd left me for her boss. The same one who said I wasn't enough. Now she wanted me to pay her spousal support. And not just that, retroactive compensation for something called step-parental abandonment. I sat down, slowly, and started reading. She claimed she was pregnant, unemployed, and had grown accustomed to a lifestyle I had once helped provide. I flipped to the itemized list. It was almost laughable. The mortgage, I had paid every month. The car, leased in my name. An emotional obligation to Adeline, as a stepfather. And then the kicker, a claim that my financial success from selling the education app should be shared because she had supported my teaching career emotionally during our short 3-year marriage. I stared at that line for a long time. Then I leaned back in my chair, set the letter down, and laughed. A deep, bitter, disbelieving kind of laugh. Then I called my lawyer, Ron Jeremy. No, not that Ron Jeremy, my Ron Jeremy. Ruthless, brilliant, zero tolerance for drama. The man looks like a hitman on his day off, dresses like a part-time DJ, and speaks like every word owes him rent. He's the kind of guy you call when someone decides to poke the bear and forgets the bear has claws. He showed up to my place 30 minutes after I sent him the court papers, looking like he'd just walked out of a noir film. He read through the petition silently, flipping pages like he was reading a children's book. Then he leaned back in the chair, locked eyes with me, and smirked. "Oh, they really thought you'd roll over," he said. "Cute." We got to work. Ron filed a motion to dismiss with prejudice, and then we went hunting for truth. Every document, every receipt, every email, every message that painted the real picture. The version that didn't rely on sob stories or staged pity. Color-coded tabs, bank statements, email threads, timeline charts, signed affidavits. You name it. The court date came faster than expected. Josephine arrived wearing a modest maternity dress and what I swear was the same bottle of fake humility she used the last time we met. She carried her pregnancy like it was a theatrical costume. Hand on the bump, soft sighs, carefully chosen frowns. Her lawyer was the kind of guy you find advertised on late-night television. Loud voice, louder tie, too much hair gel. He started off with the usual performance. "Your Honor, my client has suffered. She was abandoned, emotionally and financially. Mr. Smith's sudden wealth does not excuse his continued duty to provide. After all, love isn't something you just turn off. Financial stability is a moral obligation." I almost choked on my water. Ron didn't flinch. He stood with the ease of a man holding 4 aces, walked over to the judge, and calmly handed him the binder. Thick, heavy, organized like a military operation. "Your Honor," Ron began, voice crisp and surgical. "This binder includes a full account of Mr. Smith's financial support to Mrs. Klein both during and a few months after their separation, including bank transfers, rent payments, and even grocery expenses. This was done as per the court orders." He flipped to a tab. "Here are the emails where Mrs. Klein openly admits to engaging in an extramarital affair with her employer, now bankrupt, I believe, while still living under Mr. Smith's roof." Flip. Another tab. "Here are the signed statements showing Mr. Smith continued to pay for her car, insurance, and a portion of her daughter's tuition despite having been, by all evidence, discarded. This is also in accordance with the previous court order." Flip again. "And here," Ron said, handing the judge a printed timeline, "you will find indisputable proof that Mrs. Klein moved in with her lover 2 weeks before our client's divorce was finalized." Then came the best part. The moment Ron dropped the nuclear bomb. He stood, buttoned his blazer like a man about to deliver last rites, and walked calmly toward the bench. "Your Honor," he said, voice steady but sharp enough to draw blood. "My client was removed from the life of this child by Josephine and her daughter's explicit choice." He let the words hang in the air. Now that her relationship with Mr. Whalen has ended, she is attempting to retroactively reclassify my client's generosity as legal obligation. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a flash drive, slid it across the table like it was a loaded weapon. "We have audio recordings, text messages, and an affidavit proving that Mr. Smith was pushed out of their lives, not the other way around. We'd like to play Exhibit D. The judge nodded, and the bailiff took the flash drive. A few clicks, a short delay, and then the courtroom speakers came alive. Adeline's voice, clear as glass. Hey Dad, don't take it personally. My mom deserves more than a broke teacher. Waylon's not just richer. He's smarter, hotter, and actually going somewhere. We're upgrading. Have a nice day. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw Josephine shrink in her seat like the floor had dropped beneath her. Her lawyer turned pale, staring at the monitor like it had betrayed him personally. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge leaned forward, elbows on the bench, hands folded. His face unreadable, but the tension in the room could have cracked stone. I've seen some shameless attempts in my time, he said slowly. But this takes the cake. Josephine's lawyer tried to speak, but nothing came out. He just sat there, frozen. Josephine kept her head down, face burning red, hands clenched on her lap like they might hold her shame together. The judge continued, voice firmer now. Mrs. Smith, you divorced this man. You left him. You entered a relationship with another man by your own free will. You received no threats, no financial coercion, and no evidence of abuse. He flipped through Ron's binder, nodding as he read. In fact, he said, lifting his eyes back to her, Mr. Smith's documentation shows he went above and beyond to support you and your daughter. Who? May I remind you, he has no legal obligation to. Mr. Smith followed the court orders. He did his part to support you during and after the divorce. He snapped the binder shut. And now you want him to fund your life because your choices didn't pan out? He shook his head. Request denied. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Then came the final blow. And Mrs. Smith, consider this fair warning. Any future attempt to reopen this case could be considered harassment. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just stood, nodded at the judge, and walked out of the courtroom like a free man. The sun hit my face as I stepped outside, brighter than I remembered, like the sky itself had been holding its breath. I took it in. No celebration, just a deep, steady breath. Adeline was waiting by the steps, arms folded, jaw clenched. Same posture she used to have when she didn't get her way as a teenager. You really couldn't just help us, could you? She snapped. I turned to her. Calm, steady, no anger, no regret. I did help, I said. For 5 years, I loved you like you were mine. I showed up when your real father didn't. I was there every time. She rolled her eyes, but I didn't stop. But you made your choice. Both of you. You looked me in the face and told me I wasn't enough. You chose flash over foundation. That wasn't an accident. That was intentional. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her eyes watered, just a little. Maybe from guilt. Maybe just ego. I didn't care anymore. This, I continued, gesturing to the courthouse behind me. This is just the consequence finally catching up. Josephine stepped out a moment later, moving slower, like the weight of her own decisions was finally crushing her spine. She looked smaller. You won't even help with the baby? She asked, her voice hoarse. I looked at her belly, then at her eyes. Hollow, reaching. That baby has a father, I said. Just not me. She blinked, stunned, then lowered her gaze. Best of luck, I added. And I walked away. For good this time. 6 months later, I moved to Denver. Took a new position, Director of Academic Innovation for a national education nonprofit. A role that let me rebuild lives without losing mine. I bought a new house in a quiet neighborhood. Adopted a dog, Duke, a rescue mutt with a stubborn streak and a soft heart. I met someone too. Someone who didn't measure my worth in income or title. Someone who saw me for who I was, not what I could give. Josephine gave birth. Moved in with her mother. Waylon vanished like a ghost. No one's seen or heard from him since. Adeline. Last I heard, she dropped out of school. Tried messaging again. One of those late night, just wondering how you're doing texts. I left it on read. Because some doors don't just close. They lock forever. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.